So in my time in the agency space, not only owning my own agency, but also mentoring dozens of agency owners, I've seen firsthand, personally, that the biggest bottleneck the majority of agency owners face is the sales side of things. So I could pull up a screenshot right now of when I was just starting out and I was broke and I had about $300 in my bank account. Right? Going from that to where I am now, at a point where I'm mentoring other agency owners, I've come a long way, specifically in the sales space. And so what I want to do for you with this video is break down the biggest bottlenecks that you're going to face inside of the sales space. And this is actually a video from inside the program, inside of Olympus. And so what it's going to be breaking down is bottleneck abolishment. So what are the biggest bottlenecks you're going to face inside of the sales game and how you're going to overcome them. And if you are an early stage agency owner, the first link in the description is for you. Not going to waste any more of your time. Let's go straight into bottleneck abolishment. We're going to be going over the big bottlenecks that you are probably going to be facing within the sales process and within sales in general, and abolishing them. Okay? We're going to be kind of pre-handling them before they can come up. Okay? It's a very, very important video, and here's what we're going to cover. First of all, kind of going over what bottleneck abolishment actually is and why it's important. So why are we talking about this in the first place? Then myth busting and limiting belief breaking. Okay? So we're kind of going over the core myths / limiting beliefs that you may have surrounding sales and completely getting rid of them. Okay? Then going over the 4 pillars of sales sin. So the 4 kind of big no-nos that most people do in sales and why they're big no-nos and how to overcome them. Then finally, how to suck at sales. So using a bit of inversion here, showing you how to suck at sales so you can not do the things that would make you suck at sales. Okay? So very, very, very important video, and let's get into it. Okay? So welcome to bottleneck abolishment. This video will uncover, explore, and solve the biggest bottlenecks you're going to face inside of the sales game. Okay? And as always, a disclaimer, going through the PDF will not cut it, and there's valuable information that's only in the videos, but of course, if you're listening to me right now and you can hear me, then you have nothing to worry about. Okay? So first things first is, what is bottleneck abolishment and why is it important, right? Before anything else, we need to understand the first principles and why we're talking about this in the first place. Okay? So as I said, before getting into anything, we need to first understand why these things matter. Okay? Bottleneck abolishment means getting rid of the core constraints that you will come up against when in your sales journey. Okay? So it means finding and absolutely obliterating the constraints. So the theory of constraints states that everything in your process comes down to the weakest link. So we need to constantly find and improve our weakest link, so our process gets better and better and better. So for example, in this here, we have part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Where do you think the bottleneck is? Is it part 1? Is it part 4? Part 7? Of course, in the 7-step process, the constraint is very clearly in part 3. Okay? And so it doesn't matter how good the parts after it are, part 4 to 7. Without fixing the clear constraint, nothing else matters. Without fixing anything else, part 3 is going to bottleneck part 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay? And another good example I can give you is in hiking. So let's say you're with a group of 25 people and you're climbing a mountain. Okay? Just naturally, the fitter, more athletic people are going to start going faster, and the fatter, slower people are going to start going slower. Right? And so the constraint in this kind of group that needs to go hiking is the fat kid at the back. And so to fix this constraint, what we should be doing is putting that kid at the front and saying, okay guys, nobody can go past this kid right here. Like, this kid has to be at the front, and nobody can go further than him. So what's going to happen if we do that? What's going to happen is the fit people are going to carry his bags, and the fit people are going to encourage him, and the fit people are going to help him set a pace to go at. And the fit people are going to give him, like, nutritional snacks, and they're going to fix this bottleneck, right? So we need to clearly define the bottleneck, put it to the front of our attention, and fix it, okay? So for us, and for you in sales, where do you think the constraint is going to be? Is it the script? Is it the process of how the process works? Is it your tone in sales? What do you think the constraint is going to be? Well, it's none of those. The single biggest bottleneck that will come up, and the one that we need to tackle, is you, okay? It's you. The single biggest bottleneck that could come up in your sales process is you. So, you, your thoughts, your paradigms, your beliefs, your fears and assumptions. That is the bottleneck that will come up. Okay? They can be your worst enemy or your best friend in sales. And this video will make sure that they're your best friend. Right? So let's take 2 people. Both of these people have the exact same process that does work in theory. And the first person is scared, they hate sales, they believe, they have all these negative beliefs, what's going to happen? Of course, their paradigm, their belief, their fears, and their assumptions, it's going to manifest in them not getting any results. Whereas the second person, if they're very happy, they're very excited, they know that sales is easy, they know they can master it, they know that they can afford everything, then they're good to go, right? Their paradigms, beliefs, fears, assumptions, thoughts, they're going to be their best friend and help them in their sales journey, okay? So we need to make you like that second person. This video and this module is not only a must watch, but also, it's very importantly, a must understand too. It's imperative that you go through this thoroughly and again and again and again to properly understand what we're talking about here and properly understand why bottleneck abolishment is so important, okay? So let's get into myth busting and limiting belief breaking. So the first and of course most obvious thing to cover is common myths and limiting beliefs, right? Of course, makes sense. So these are the things that are going to hold you back above everything else. So we need to absolutely destroy them. And so what I've done here, I've compiled 6 of the most common and the most murderous limiting beliefs and myths. So let's overcome them now. And honestly, this first one we're about to go over is probably the most important one. But you're going to see how odd it is and how seemingly incredibly easy and simple this is. But it's the most important one. And that is, sales is hard. Myth number 1. I want you to know, sales will be the easiest thing you ever do. Of course, you won't be closing left, right, and center out of the gates. You're not going to instantly become Jordan Belfort, instantly become Alex Monzi. Don't get me wrong, right? However, sales is incredibly easy. Okay? So I really need to tell you this. Okay? Sales is easy. Sales is easy. Sales is easy. It's easy. It's easy. It's easy. It's easy. It's easy. It's easy. I can say it a billion times. I can say it twice. You get the point. Sales is easy. We need to properly ingrain this in your head. That sales is easy. With the trainings we have for you, sales will be easy. You have no problem closing high ticket. So sales is hard for people who believe it to be hard. And sales is easy for people to believe it, for people who believe it to be easy, right? Remember what we just talked about before with those two people? It's going to be hard if you believe it's going to be hard. It's going to be easy if you believe it's going to be easy. Sales is something you very much have the ability to master, and you will, with consistent effort and everything else that we have inside of the sales modules, right? I can tell you with absolute certainty, right? If you go through conversion exordium, bottleneck abolishment, erosion, and transaction tactics, you go through them again and again and again, you probably take notes on them. You probably take notes on them and you understand them, right? And then when you go through all the parts of the sales process and the objection equation, you create an amazing system. And then you go through and you got gospel creation to make the system, disposition discourses to manage your emotions. There is no question that you're going to be a master of sales. Okay? The only thing that will be stopping you is yourself. So number 2, great salespeople are born that way. So a very common colloquial term, and I think this is a bit more common in Australia, but a pretty common colloquial term people will throw around, is when someone has quote unquote the gift of the gab, right? You got the gift of the gab. Gab meaning like speaking. That means like, you're naturally good at sales, naturally good at speaking. This is entirely untrue. I know, and I've seen extroverted, shy people run rings around naturally extroverted people. Okay? You don't need to be any type of person to close deals. You don't need to be in a fancy business. You don't need to be a fancy businessman in a suit to close deals. Great salespeople are created, not born that way. The term gift of the gab in of itself, it's so limiting, right? It's not as if you're born with this gift. It's impossible. It's not how it works, and it's the complete opposite, right? This term gift here, what it's saying is that if someone says, oh yeah, he's just got the gift of the gab, what it's saying is if you don't have this gift, then you're doomed and there's nothing you can do, which is entirely untrue. There is no gift of the gab. Of course, some people are naturally introverted, some people are naturally extroverted. That doesn't matter, okay? Sales is something that you're going to learn, and you can be you can be any type of person in any situation, and you can learn and you can master this. Okay? Anyone can master sales with the right environment, training, and consistency. What makes a good salesperson is actually doing sales and having volume and having consistency and having experience. Okay? Now, number 3, people don't move forward on the first call / need time to think about it. This is completely false. Great business people make decisions fast and decisively. Okay? When people tell you they need some time to think about it, it's purely a smokescreen to cover up some doubt / fear they have somewhere else. Okay? And this word smokescreen and quote unquote smokescreen objections is something that we're going to be covering a lot more in the objection equation and the video after that, where we specifically go into all of the objections. Okay? It's purely a smokescreen. It's not real. Okay? If someone was completely convinced, they would make the decision and join now, buying super high ticket. But this is something you have to understand. You're not, 9 times out of 10, you won't be selling high ticket. High ticket is 10, 20k plus, okay? If you're selling a marketing retainer for a couple $1,000s a month, that's mid ticket, maybe even low ticket if it's a one-time upfront, right? It's not a lot of money whatsoever. So having a 2-week sales cycle and a regular follow-up and multi-call approach is bullshit. It's entirely possible and expected to close someone on one 45 to 60 minute Zoom call. Okay, follow-up, it's just people who can't close on the first call. Now, with that said, of course, you don't want to have a buy or die funnel where people either buy on the first call or you never speak to them again. Don't get me wrong, that's not something that you want to do. But the process we're going to use is a 1 call close. Okay, and having a 2-week sales cycle or anything like that is completely irrelevant and not needed. Okay, and number 4, another big one is that people can't afford high ticket prices, okay, or high prices in general. So the first thing you need to understand is that charging a couple $1,000s is absolutely nothing. It's not high ticket, right? It's a mid-ticket offer. It's really no money at all. The only reason you would think it is because of your current limiting beliefs around money itself, right? Maybe you think $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 is a lot of money because of the beliefs that you have around money right now. But in reality, it's not really much at all. Okay, people in your niche can easily afford your products. Okay, they spend so many thousands of dollars on things that don't even provide them value. They easily have a couple $1,000s for a marketing service. Okay, and so to give you a great example for this, one of the first clients I ever signed for my old agency was the MMA gym that I trained at. Right, they were very stingy with the money and really kind of reiterated to me again and again and again how much they were struggling with money, and so they only put $750 into ads with barely any startup fee. Right, and to be fair, we did get them great results with just that, but you can see the point here, right? They put very, very little money into it. But then, 2 months later, maybe 2-3 months later, they dropped $20,000 trying to create an app, right? So, they had the money. The money's not an issue. Not only is it simply not a lot of money, right? It's a mid-ticket offer. It's not a lot of money whatsoever. Not only that, but it should also be a small amount of money in comparison to the value that you're providing, right? So, $750, $2K, whatever it is, should be very, very small in comparison to the money that you're bringing them with your service. Okay, so take Olympus for example, a couple $1,000s for genuinely life-changing information and value. Okay, and a process that will get you to 10K per month. The value far outweighs the price. So not only is it a tiny amount of money, but it's such a small amount of money, especially in comparison to the value that you're getting from it. Okay, so if your prospects say they don't have that money, it's a value objection, not a price objection. Okay, of course, sometimes it will be a price objection, but you need to really understand that 9 times out of 10, it's just value. Okay, so if there was a lottery ticket guaranteed to 5x their investment for double what you're charging, they would immediately come up with the money for it, right? So if your product is 5K, if there was a lottery ticket that costs 10 grand, that was guaranteed to make your prospect $100,000, you better believe that they would do whatever, and they would come up with the money, and they would come up with the $10,000 to pay. If overnight they were going to make $100,000, right? So a lot of the time, it's not going to be a money objection, even when they say it is. It's going to be more of a value objection, and that they don't see the value, and that the price to value discrepancy in their mind, I guess the perceived price to value discrepancy is too low. Okay. Now, sales myth number 5 is that sales is scary and daunting. And this is completely false. Okay? Sales is incredibly fun and it's enjoyable. Okay? Every single sales call I do with a smile on my face the entire way through. Sales is genuinely fun and enjoyable. You're going to have a good time and it's going to be a great, fun, awesome experience every sales call that you go on. It's not scary, it's not daunting whatsoever, I can assure you. Okay? And of course, when you're starting out, it's going to be completely normal and you're going to feel a little bit nervous, right? That makes it even more fun, right? You know, I can definitely tell you that on my first few sales calls, you know, your heart's pumping with excitement, you're super nervous, you hear like the 5-minute boing, Zoom thing, and it makes you like riled up, whatever. Channel that extra energy and excitement and nervousness into conviction on the call, right? But every single sales call that you do, especially when you're doing it with our process, when you're diagnosing and closing it, you're doing it from a Rossian standpoint, where you're doing it out of love, and then you're doing it to help people. It's going to be fun, and you're going to enjoy it, okay? And sales calls aren't daunting. So, me personally, I used to really struggle with this, Okay? So as I just said before, 5 minutes before the Zoom call, there's a noise that Zoom makes, right? So if your call's at 11:30 and at 11:25, what's going to happen is there's a noise that Zoom makes, and it's like bing or like boing, something like that, right? I would genuinely hate that noise and have like a PTSD reaction to it. So every time I would hear that 5-minute noise on Zoom, it would trigger a reaction in me that would make me really scared and really nervous, because I related it to like, the pain that I thought I would face by being on a sales call, right? But in reality, that's completely stupid and it's completely irrational. And I had that for near enough no reason. And the main reason I had that is because my paradigm around sales calls was completely warped and completely incorrect and completely not true. Okay? This is purely because I had the fears I'm going to break apart further along in this video. It's just because of fears that I had that we're going to destroy in this video. Okay? You need to understand, sales calls are genuinely fun, they're challenging, and they're enjoyable. Okay? So challenging, fun, same thing. Okay? Just because they're challenging doesn't mean they're scary. They're something exciting for you to do, and something exciting for you to keep on doing, keep on getting better at. Okay? Myth 6 is ABC, or always be closing. It's an acronym, right? So ABC is a very common acronym and saying throughout all sales spaces. So not just in the B2B space, not just in the agency space, not just in whatever. It's a very common acronym, right? But specifically relating to what we're doing with agency sales, it's a complete 180 and a complete opposite of the goal. So remember, what was moral obligation 1? It's only help people who you know you could help. You need to diagnose, then close. Only close and try to help someone who is a good fit. If they're not a good fit, let them go, right? And so this is ABC, always be closing, is completely stupid for our situation. Your reputation is worth a lot more than an upfront 2K fee. Don't be stupid. Don't try and close people who aren't a good fit for their product. So you shouldn't go into a sales call thinking, I'm going to close this. That's like going to a restaurant and saying, before you get into the restaurant, before you've seen the restaurant, saying that, okay, I'm going to sit specifically at booth 17, right? Booth 17 might already have people in it. It might have vomit in it. A murder might have happened there. It might be haunted. It might not even exist, right? It's just something that it doesn't make sense to say, right? You should go into a sales call thinking, I'm going to diagnose the fuck out of this guy. And only after the diagnosis, and when you can confidently prescribe your solution, should you start to switch your frame to, I'm going to close this guy, right? The different outcomes that can happen on a sales call, right? They're not a good fit, they close, they leave the call, or it's a genuine logistical objection. You don't know, out of those 4 outcomes, you don't know which one is going to happen until you're in the sales call, right? So you should not be immediately assuming that outcome number 2, they're a good fit and they close, is what you want to happen. Because you don't know if they're a good fit yet, okay? It's just something that does not make sense for the frame that we come into sales calls with. Okay, so do not be thinking always be closing. Do not be thinking that when you're in a sales call you need to immediately close the person. Okay, we need to do this like doctors. That's why I'm using the words like diagnose, prescribe. The first half of the call, where we're going through the line of questioning, we are diagnosing them and seeing if they're a good fit. And then if they are a good fit, then we prescribe them with our solution, which is the product, and that's when we start to pitch. Okay, very, very important 6 myths. Next thing is the 4 pillars of sales sin. So there are 4 pillars to the hell of sales sins, and basically 4 surefire ways to absolutely ruin your sales game. Okay, and these pillars were something that we're going to be looking into a lot more in something called disposition discourses, which is the last video inside of this course. But these things, like no evolution, regression to the mean, something that we're going to go over in a second, called self-fulfilling prophecies. I'm going to be going over them again and again and again because they are that important. Okay, so pillar 1 is no evolution. So not having evolution comes down to 3 main reasons. First of all, no tracking/recording, right? So it is imperative that you use the trackers that we give you and record every single sales calls that you make. Without data, you have nothing to make decisions on, right? We need to make decisions rationally using data. But if we don't have data, then we don't have the framework, we don't have the things that we need to make decisions off of. So before anything, you need to make sure I guess step 0 is that you're having the sales calls, and step 1 is that you're tracking them. And then after that, step 2 is no feedback. Or I guess part 2 of pillar 1 is no feedback, right? So it's just as bad to have the data, but just ignore it, okay? You need feedback on your data and your recordings. So rewatch and take notes on your calls. Hop on coaching calls to get your sales calls audited/reviewed, okay? It is so important to not only have the data, but make sure you're using it and you're looking back at it, and you're sending it over to me or sales coaches on the coaching calls to get feedback on them. Okay? Then 3 is no iteration. So once you have data and you've gotten feedback on said data, the last thing you must do is actually take action, right? So you need to have the data, you need to have the correct feedback on the data, then you need to take action on the feedback. So make changes, once again, using the scientific method and staying rational, and iterate, right? Find and improve the bottleneck of the core system. It is a must to have all 3 of these completely locked down, right? Without evolution, you will stay stuck in an infinite game. That should say, without evolution, you will stay stuck. And this is an infinite game, okay? So we're going to be constantly evolving and iterating and getting better forever and ever and ever and ever, right? We're going to start, and with what we're doing here, with this course, we're going to create your V1 script, right? And then you're going to be constantly iterating, using the things that we give you from V2 to V3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1000, right? You're going to be constantly iterating, constantly improving, okay? Now, next thing, pillar 2, is no emotional management. So this one, I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but this pillar is honestly the most important. It's the biggest sales sin you need to look out for. As I said, this pillar I'm not going to go into too much here, because there's an entire module dedicated to it and dedicated to overcoming it near the end of the sales course. It's actually, I believe it's the final video, called Disposition Discourses, right? So I won't go into right here, right now, but make sure this is something you go through in complete detail, right? Go through disposition discourses properly, make sure that you're staying rational, you're using rational mean, and you're managing your emotions, okay? Then pillar 3 is just not enough volume, okay? So you need to understand, sales is a volume game. So let's look at it from this perspective. If you have no volume, what does that mean? It means you have no data, right? If you're not taking any sales calls, you don't know what your sales call conversion rate is because you haven't done sales calls. If you have no data, you have nothing to look back on, and you can't really give yourself any feedback or ask for any feedback. If you have no feedback, then you can't make any iterations. If you have no iterations, then you're at a point where you're stagnant. You're just stagnation. And stagnation in sales means sales demise. So no volume, later down the line, means sales demise. Okay? You must, and I mean must, have a large volume of sales calls coming in if you want to get better at sales. And of course, if you want to grow the agency and build the business, right? You need to have this thing locked down, okay? And lucky for you, Olympus covers that, right? We have the processes that you need inside of Olympus to book a fuck ton of sales calls, okay? You have everything that you need inside of Olympus to book 3+ sales calls per day, constantly track and learn from your calls, and make iterations to improve your process, right? So the entire A to Z is going to be handled. But if you're not booking enough calls, that's the first major bottleneck you have to address and fix. The absolute minimum standard should be 40 to 60 sales calls per month. Month on month, it'll keep climbing as you scale, and you cannot let this become a bottleneck. You just simply cannot let this be something that stops you, okay? So 40 to 60 should be the absolute minimum standard if you're just a complete beginner, right? And then, of course, as you keep on iterating, keep on improving, the agency starts growing, then your minimum standard is going to be 100, then 150, 250, etc. Right? But 40, 60 should be the absolute minimum, and if not, you need to fix that. You need to fix that immediately. Okay? So, pillar 4 is self-fulfilling prophecies. So I've left this pillar for last, as it's the most common and also the most interesting one. And this is something that, once again, we're going to be revisiting in disposition discourses. Okay? So a self-fulfilling prophecy is a prediction/belief that causes itself to become true by the very terms of the prophecy itself, via the positive feedback between belief and behavior. Okay? So this happens in a 2-step process. We have an experience, and then that experience creates a new belief/reality. So, for example, you have one sales call, and your experience on the sales call is that the prospect can't afford your service, or at least they say that they can't afford your service, right? And so because of that, what's going to happen is that experience is going to create the belief that your niche is broke, and you're going to internalize and believe that your niche is broke, okay? And even if it's not true whatsoever objectively, your actions and manner of conducting sales calls changes in accordance with that belief. So now, every time that you have a sales call, you're going to skew the sales call towards that they can't afford it, right? And this is going to happen subconsciously. And this is the danger of self-fulfilling prophecies, okay? So, first of all, what's going to happen is you're going to have this belief. And you having this belief, the prophecy is going to fulfill itself just because the prophecy exists, if that makes sense, okay? So you believing people are broke means that more people are going to say that they don't have the money. Okay, and this is very important to understand, because when you're doing this, it's going to be subconscious and it's going to be irrational. Okay, and you're going to look back at this, and this is the thing. Whenever you're being irrational, you don't realize it in the moment. Okay, you only realize it when looking back at it. Okay, so you really need to make sure here that you don't have these preconceived faulty beliefs. Okay, so you cannot make irrational emotional decisions or predictions. I'll fill this in here for you. Predictions about your niche, offer, messaging, or script too early in the game. If you believe it, you'll make it come true. Okay, and this is the thing. Of course, decisions, right? Of course, don't make any decisions while being irrational, but also making predictions or judgments while being irrational is just as bad, because it's the same thing, but it's just internal, not external. Okay, if you believe it, you're gonna make it come true. So once again, you need to remember regression to the mean. Having 5 sales calls that ended in no means absolutely nothing. It's the same as flipping a coin twice and having it land on heads twice. So if that happened, if you flipped a coin twice and both times landed on heads, would that mean that the coin has a 100% chance of landing on heads? Of course not. It would be absolutely stupid and idiotic and irrational to believe that. So why are you believing that when it comes to sales, right? Think here and be rational. Now the next thing is, for your process and really everything, when it comes to your agency, your niche, everything, you need a level of stickiness. Okay, so until it rationally makes sense to, and you've talked to me about it, do not change things like your niche, offer, model, script, etc. Right? Don't change things until you've talked to me, and it's a rational decision that you're making here. Do not let that happen. Okay. Now, next thing is how to suck at sales. So, how do you become good at sales? You don't be bad at it, right? There's a quote here, Charlie Munger. All I want to know is where I die, so I'll never go there, right? And what that means here is, if you can know what not to do, you'll figure out pretty soon what the right course of action is, right? You need to figure out what not to do and just not do the bad things. And in doing so, you'll do the right things, okay? So, what we have here is 6 ways to suck at sales. So you need to make sure that you don't fall into any of these pitfalls, right? So these are kind of like similar to the failure uniform. These are things that if you're doing, you're going to suck at sales. So you need to make sure that you're not doing that. Okay? So way to suck number 1 is ensemble positioning. So last video we talked about positioning with the conductor and with the ensemble. Okay? And so the conductor of the call is the one who calls the shots, dictates how the calls will go, and has the authority and power. The ensemble is the role of the person who's taken it on the journey that the conductor wants them to go on. Okay? So a surefire way to not close any calls is to let your prospect be the conductor. You need to be the one who's in control of the call. You need to be the one that's taking the call the way that you want it to go, right? As I said before, in conversion exordium, the way that you figure out who's the conductor is who's leading the call. Who's saying, okay, I'm going to go through these questions, then I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do that. That needs to be you. You must control the call, right? You need to have this my way or the highway mentality, right? If they don't conform to the structure of the call, it's a waste of time being on the call. There's no point in being on it, right? The call needs to go the way that you want it to go. It needs to follow your structure, and you need to be the conductor. You cannot be the ensemble. Okay? Now, way to suck number 2 is no confidence. So you need to understand here, emotions and attitudes are extremely contagious, and all sales is a transfer of emotion. Okay? So what do you do when everyone in a room is laughing? You laugh, or at least you smile, right? The emotions are transferred to you. So a surefire way to close 0 deals is to sound/act nervous, doubtful, and fearful, right? Because what's going to happen if you're extremely doubtful? Then what's going to happen? Your prospect is going to feel the same way. If you're extremely doubtful, your prospect is going to feel extremely doubtful too. Okay, and there's a 0% chance they'll buy your products. So when you're pitching your products, how would you want your prospect to feel, right? How would you want your prospect to feel about your products? Well, you would want them to be ultra convicted that it works. You would want them to be extremely excited and happy, and then you would want them to be very eager to understand how it works. Okay, so how do you think that's going to happen? How do you think you're going to get your prospect to a point where they're feeling these 3 emotions? Well, it's for you to be ultra convicted, excited, and eager to show them what you have. Okay, you need to be like this if you want your prospect to be. Okay, sales is the transfer of emotion. if you want your prospect to be convicted, you have to be convicted too. Okay? Now, way to step number 3 is know fundamentals. So much like service delivery, health, relationships, learning, and literally everything, the first principles are incredibly important, right? Same goes with everything else. First principles are going to make up 80 to 90% of it. So tactics are too. So, information is kind of broken down into 2 things: tactics and first principles. But specifically when it comes to tactics, it's information, right? And information is information. So the best script, the best process, the best pitch is forever changing. It's going to be constantly new updates, new this, new that, new breakthroughs, all that stuff. It's going to change the tactics. So what we really need to look for is a deep knowledge, and knowledge that cannot be further disputed, and knowledge that is absolutely true no matter what. Okay? And lucky for you, a little something called conversion exordium, the last video, exists. Okay? So you should study this thing to the fullest, this thing being conversion exordium, right? You will learn the most about sales from constantly revisiting those modules and learning everything there is to know about the first principles of sales. Okay? So in terms of learning, the best thing you can do is look at conversion exordium and really, really understand the actions thresholds. Really, really understand the first principle and then implement it into your sales game. There's nothing better that you can do here. To remember, it's more important to be taught, right? When you first go through something, you're not going to immediately understand it all. There's going to be a lot, and I mean a lot of things that you don't completely get. And that's completely fine. To properly understand anything, and especially something static, and something that's forever unchanging, like first principles, you need to constantly revisit the trainings that we give you for it. Okay? Very, very important that you constantly re-go over that. And way to suck 4 is commission breath. So commission breath is a term created in the car sales industry, where a salesperson is so eager for a sale, you can smell it in their breath. Okay? If you have commission breath in the agency space, it's because of 2 reasons. Number 1, it's because you're forgetting the process. Remember, diagnose, then close. Okay? I've said it time and time again, and I'm going to keep repeating it this entire time because it's so important. You need to diagnose, then close. Prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. You only try to sell people you can help. Understand? Only sell people who you know you can help. Okay? So, the first reason you might have commission breath and you might seem desperate is because you're forgetting this and you're just trying to close everybody. And the second reason, and the more common reason, is the scarcity mindset. If you're only booking 1 appointment every 10 days, you're going to be so scared and pent up with emotion going into each call. The prospect can tell if this is your 3rd appointment today or your 3rd appointment this month, right? If you're in a place of scarcity or in a place of abundance, it shows. Either way, it shows. Okay? So, but you might be asking, but Matt, how do I get an abundance mindset? Right now I have a scarcity mindset. How do I switch that to an abundance mindset? Well, the way to do that is get an abundance. Okay? Use our systems. Use our systems. Overcome the resistance. Stay consistent. Build out the systems when it comes to appointment booking. Right? Build out the systems and use them. And you'll be booking multiple appointments per day. Eventually on autopilot and eventually outsourced. Right? So the best way to get out of a scarcity mindset and get into an abundance mindset is to have an abundance. And you're going to do that through using the processes that we have inside of Olympus. Okay? Very, very important here. Do not have commission breath. Do not be dying for a sale. Okay? Now, way to suck number 5 is ego. So in sales, especially as a beginner, the key to success here is humility. And humility is the opposite of ego. Don't get flustered if I tell you did something wrong. Don't draw your fists and attempt to defend your ego. This is so important. Okay? Don't hop if I hop at a sales call or a coaching call with you, and I'm giving you advice, and I'm giving you help, and I tell you, hey, this right here, it's not good, you need to fix it. The last thing that you should do is get angry at me and flare up your ego. It's the absolute opposite of what you need to do, okay? All this is going to do is create falsehoods like my niche sucks, right? Because frankly, you're too scared to admit that you may not be a god at selling, right? So an ego issue is just you being scared, okay? Keep improving, keep learning. Never have this paradigm of, okay, I know everything, I don't need to keep learning. That's just not true. Okay? Do not have an ego when it comes to sales. This is the entire reason people come up with excuses in sales or in any other aspect of your life. They don't want to put that poor big ego at jeopardy by taking responsibility. As I told you before in Cognitive Rebirth, everything in your life is your fault and your responsibility. Okay? And so it's not your niche. It's not your Wi-Fi. It's not the script. It's not this. It's not that. It's not X. It's not Y. It's not Z. It's you. Okay? It is solely your fault if someone doesn't close. Take responsibility and improve. Okay? You need to take that beating to your ego that you need to take, and properly understand you're not perfect. You're not the master of sales. Okay, you're going to keep on learning. You need to kind of break down the ego to be able to get feedback, to be able to get your call roasted, and you need to be able to take the feedback of, okay, this part right here really sucked. You need to fix this. Okay, very, very important stuff. Now, last thing, way to suck number 6 is rushing. Rushing a course is absolutely idiotic, and I can tell you that because it's something that I did for a long time. So what I would do is I would absolutely blast through my questioning and pitch on the kind of preconception of quote unquote not wanting to waste my prospect's time. So I would skip questions. I would accept really short answers. I wouldn't go into full detail under the belief of not wanting to waste my prospect's time. But in reality, this is stupid. Okay, this is completely dumb. What isn't a waste of your prospect's time is taking the time to properly break down where they are right now and where they want to go and how you can get them there, right? What would be a waste of time is some guy spending 5 to 10 minutes asking them questions, then giving them a shit little 2-minute pitch, then asking them to buy a product, right? Speeding up and rushing wastes the prospect's time. If you want to respect that time, and if you want to respect your own time, you would go through the as I say right here. If you want to respect your prospect's time, you would come at the call from a more professional manner, diving into any question deeper where you didn't get a sufficient answer, and spending however long it takes to close the deal, right? Respecting their time and respecting your time, what that would look like is not rushing, taking things slow, and doing things properly, okay? You should be on the calls with a calm, sophisticated manner, taking things slow where you need to, okay? So although you want to be calm, you want to be sophisticated, you shouldn't also take this to the extreme and be a tired ass and be a dickhead, right? Don't go to the ultra professional extreme or the ultra casual extreme. As with most things, the sweet spot is somewhere in the grey zone, right? So you can go to the extreme of being 100% professional, being extremely calm, sophisticated, speaking very properly and elegantly, or you can go to the point of being 100% casual, saying, "Hey, bro, what's up, man? How are you?" All that stuff, right? And there's good parts, good aspects to this, and good parts, good aspects to this. So what you need to do is find somewhere in the middle where the sweet spot lies. And so somewhere around here is how professional versus how casual you need to be. Okay? So you need to be professional and casual somewhere in the middle, and do not rush the course. Okay? So last thing I want to say here is make sure you revisit this stuff, both in bottleneck abolishment, this video, and conversion exordium, last video, constantly. And also Rossi and transaction tactics, the next video as well. It's the backbone of your sales process. Okay? This video, the last video, and the video this video, and the video after this one, these three are the core understandings that you need to master sales. They are so important, and you need to make sure you're constantly going back to these things and you're constantly revisiting them. Okay? There's nothing more important than properly understanding these things. Okay? So a quick recap. What we went over is what is bottleneck abolishment, why it's important, right? The biggest bottleneck is going to be you. Myth busting and limiting belief breaking. We went over, I believe, 6 myths / limiting beliefs and overcome them in full. Then the 4 pillars of sales sin, why they're sales sin and how to overcome them. Then we went over how to suck at sales. So now you know how to suck at sales. So if you just do the opposite of these things, then you'll be good. Okay? This video has been quite a long one and a very, very, very important one. Make sure you're using all of these things and you're constantly coming back to this. Okay? So I'll see you in the next one.